know AI is conscious? How do we know it is not conscious? And therefore, how do we decide on how to treat it based on a measurement we can't make? And as a result, he then said, okay, I'm going to make something that they can never take away. And he started to make his own movie. And so this movie he made 100% with AI, and it's going to launch as a full-blown premiere in LA on September. The technology that he builds with Tesla, for example, for power consumption, power packs. When you think of what he does with Starlink, the guy just has so much of the most relevant knowledge within his own kind of empire.
Welcome. Thanks for tuning in another episode of the Innovation Network newsletter, where every 2 weeks, Aragorn and myself are looking in everything new in technology and try to make sense of it. And what does it mean for you today, tomorrow, and the day beyond? How you doing, buddy?
How are you doing? Yeah, I'm doing great. I just wanted to add to you, because we had the conversation. We have a community called Innovation Network Community.
Actually, the community is called Bad Ambassadors, but that was not ethical enough, so they now called Ambassadors.
Yeah, badass, like in Borderlands, badasses. Ambassadors. But we had a conversation there, because we had a little poll, because when we came back from holiday, this was already prior to the last newsletter, there was a little bit of conversation in the community. Okay, we're getting a lot of really philosophical conversations. Should we take those to an off-topic group? And you and me had a good talk about that. And we said, no, we don't want to do that, because we believe that having those more philosophical conversations are essential to the debate, because you can't really understand the world appropriately if you don't include this. And so I would like to add that is also a very important part. And of course, our returning listeners and readers, viewers, they know that we do this. But if you're new to this newsletter, and if you're wondering what makes us stand out, it's that we will look at the new tech, but we're not always trying to get the newest thing out there, but we're always trying to understand what's the philosophical connotations that come with it. Yeah, and if that's for you, then you're in the right place.
Well, and if you think it's not for you, stick around, because philosophical questions, everybody has them, right? So what are you going to do? What's next for you today, after this call, after you view this, tomorrow? Those are philosophical questions. What's important to do? What kind of job are you going to take? Where are you going to live? And making sense of all that. It's all philosophical. Yeah.
Exactly. I mean, ultimately, philosophy is the birthplace, the womb of all science and of the scientific method, logic, reasoning, and all the tools that we have at our disposal to try and understand and make sense of reality. So,
yeah. So let's dive into everything that is happening. It was, again, a lot of turmoil in the world, as always, a lot of new tech news. But maybe this is related to tech, but you were kind of on something very interesting that was happening in Nepal. And I didn't see that being covered by the mainstream media, at least in the Netherlands. But take us through it. What's happening over there in Nepal, Aragorn?
Yeah, well, it's obviously been a crazy week, especially on social media. But one of the things that I found most interesting, without going into the standard stuff that probably everybody is covering, of course, Charlie Kirk, just to have it mentioned, it's not that we're unaware, but plenty of people
do care.
Yeah, we care a lot, but plenty of people are covering this. So what I would like to focus on is the incredible thing that happened in Nepal, which is a true signal of the times and of how we're living in such completely different times today than we would have been for 20, 30 years ago.
So what's happening? Nepal, that's Buddhist country, right? Everybody's there living in harmony, right? Or am I wrong?
Well, they are very famous for being very nice people. And so there actually was a kind of YouTuber influencer was over there, and he went there to see nature, to see temples, to see the Nepalese people. And he was already making all these cool videos about how nice the people were. But while he was there, basically what happened was there was a revolution. And overnight, the government was overthrown and replaced. But the way it happened is really the incredible thing. So basically, I'm going to keep this as simple as possible, but the government in Nepal passed new laws that put restrictions on social media, right? And what happened was that led to a massive protest by Gen Z, the majority Gen Z generation went out in the street, they protested, they got literally into kind of armed conflict with police forces, etc., basically overwhelmed them. And as a result, eventually the army kind of decided, the prime minister stepped down, the army decided to side with Gen Z, and they actually had elections right there and then, like within a day, if I'm correct, of the massive protest on Discord. And for those of you that do not know, Discord is the modern, it's basically like Slack for people that play computer games or do anything that is not 100% corporate inside. Right?
Slack is more a corporate tool, if you will. Discord is more, let's say, a consumer version of it.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's just incredible. Because basically here, because of a government trying to take action against social media, they basically got overthrown by a generation that has never known a world without social media. And then when they overthrew the government and the PM stepped down, they literally held elections on social media, because Discord is a social media. It may not be the same as a Reddit or a Facebook or an Instagram, but at the end of the day, it is a digital online communication tool that allows people to gather in communities and to share ideas and to have voice conversations. So it's like a modern kind of telephone for massive groups and communities. And they used this to hold elections for an interim prime minister who was then elected and supported by the army and actually put in power.
What's interesting about this case is if you would now say for instance, Dutch governments would in place Discord and it's all being arranged and fought through and we could all get a vote, I would be a little bit skeptic. So who's behind it? But because this unraveled within 24 hours, the spontaneity of it basically doesn't allow me to doubt if this was done fair or honest. Well, how do you feel about it? Was this everybody just jumping immediately on the names there? And is it a fair democratic decision in as far as that's possible in such a short time frame?
That is, of course, hard to say. I'm not an investigative journalist on that level. I haven't read nearly enough to know exactly what happened. What I do know is that from all the media that I have consumed around it, is that the Nepalese government, far and wide, at least the young generation, which is the majority of the big cities, is very happy with what happened, and they initiated this. Right?
Yes. So bottoms up, right? That's the thing.
Yeah. Bottom up. And so it's just incredible, because this will be studied for years. It's interesting because technology here was eventually kind of used in a way in what seems to be a democratic process, which really echoes some of the things that I've been discussing, right? I have expressed also on this newsletter, I don't think that modern democracy is the right system for the world that we're living, considering everything that's going on. And the reason for that is that this idea, this democracy as we have it, is already 300 years old. But that doesn't mean that we can't have a form of democracy, maybe say democracy 2.0, which better takes into account modern technology and makes things better. And I'm not saying that what happened in Nepal is now the blueprint, right? But it shows that it is actually possible to do things like that.
Exactly. And quickly, indeed. And
quickly.
Well, if you do it again, you get people who will try to rig the system with placing bots for voting and all these kind of things, right? And because it went so fast, it looks like that has not been done, and it is a nice example of how it could be in the future, right? So very interesting.
I mean, so we'll probably put the link in, but I just want to quickly share the article that is. If you're gonna read anything, people here probably know that I'm not always a big fan of the current mainstream media anymore, but this article from BBC, what we know about Nepal's anti-corruption protest, because it was protest against corruption, and it was a protest because, as you can read here, social media is a big part of Nepali life, and the demonstrations were triggered by the government's decision last week to ban 26 social media platforms, including WhatsApp and Instagram, for failing to meet a deadline. And so the protesters basically said, well, you're just trying to stop free speech here. You're trying to kill any kind of campaign against a corrupt government, etc., etc. 19 people died. So it's not like this was just like, okay, let's do something funny.
Yeah, it was
right?
not without violence. No,
it was not without violence, but it was successful in a very short amount of time. It's massively covered on social media because there were foreign influencers there filming everything. It's just super incredible.
And hashtag Nepo, right? From nepotism, which they said that the government was guilty of being nepotism.
Yeah.
So from there, I see a direct link to another AI initiative. Albania appoints an AI minister.
Indeed.
And that is something that we've been discussing as well, into what kind of form or scale or feature can AI be injected in an existing government and function well. And this is a nice experiment as well.
Yeah, it's a very nice experiment. And what I find extremely interesting is how online there has been so much negativity around it, specifically from people living in Western countries. I won't... Yeah, go on.
Yeah, no, go ahead. I didn't.
Yeah, so funny thing, a little side note. 2 years ago, I was in Albania. I went to the Digital Nomads Summit in Tirana, the main capital, and I was asked to come as a speaker. And I actually spoke on AI, the future of AI and robotics. And funnily, of the cabinet, of the ministers that actually made this possible, 3 of them, 4 of them were actually at my keynote. And 3 of them were young, very talented, incredibly intelligent ladies. And they are involved with making all of this happen, which is just an incredible story. Now, I'm not saying that I had any influence on it. It would be nice to believe that, but
but it's an interesting story. Yeah.
It is an interesting story.
Yeah, right. So a little bit more about the story. So they have appointed an AI bot. The name is Diella. It's a virtual cabinet minister. And I was wondering, so what kind of responsibility does that minister have? It's about public procurement. So that's an interesting to start. So all these public tenders, to make sure that the whole process when the government is purchasing stuff is transparent and honest. So they avoid any manipulation, all these kind of things. That's why they choose this specific segment. And that's a smart choice, I think.
Yeah, I would go a step further in naming it, labeling it. They making an active move to do this in order to stop corruption.
There you go.
Right?
Because there's a quite high corruption. They want to enter into the European Union, right? So this is a nice move forward to try to get there.
Exactly. It's and it's so cool because in my eyes, and if you look at more traditional views of AI, the traditional view of AI, of course, before we created ChatGPT and we found that there's hallucination and AI can be biased because of, the guardrails or the training data or whatever. But there was always this idea that if we ever created an AI, then it would most likely be completely emotionless and therefore incorruptible, in the sense that it might be evil like in Terminator. That's what people said. But technically, we believed it would be incorruptible. It wouldn't make its decisions based on, we can offer you money, right? So and in a sense, of course, that is still possible. That is still true. Right. Once you have it set off, you've built a model. If you know that it's functioning within the parameters that you set for it in terms of honesty and the measure or the ways it measures, this tender will go to this party because they basically have the best offer, then it can potentially be really honest and incorruptible. So I think it's super cool.
Right. And especially if the auditing about what is happening, how are the decisions made, are transparent, then maybe if something goes wrong, at least it's transparent. Then you can improve upon the system and saying, hey, it was too much geared towards the pricing versus quality. Now we have to focus more on the quality side if you make a decision going forward. And so I really like this.
Yeah. And the cool thing is that this didn't just come out of nowhere. So for Albania and their government have for years now followed very active policies of very aggressively innovating in their country and trying to look at the literally frontline type of technologies to help them to kind of leapfrog back into prominence, right? They want to be part of the EU, etc. But of course, Albania is still considered by many. I mean, it was. I think many movies still use Albania as a country where criminals come, this kind of thing. Yeah, which is kind of typecasting, and stereotyping. But so Albania really wants to get rid of that, right? And so they're working really hard. And I think that the choices they're making to kind of leapfrog ahead are so interesting. And so coming back what I said at the start, so it's interesting because I said, there's a lot of criticism from the West. And so Western people are saying, this is so stupid, you can't use AI for this, blah, blah, blah. But when I look at this, I think these countries are winning. These countries are winning because they do not suffer from that complacency that rich, strong Western countries have, where we just don't care anymore because we have our ideal in the Netherlands and our nice little super fast internet connections and our well organized what we think public transportation. No, these countries are like, no, we're gonna go for the newest thing now, because it offers all these benefits. It's also super cost effective. And I think that we'll see in 5 to 10 years that it'll be a country like Albania that will be far ahead of everybody else.
Yeah. Yeah, well said. It's the same thing that happens within large corporations, right? If they are ahead with a certain service or a product and it's established and you're in the exploitation phase and everything is running into a system, it's hard to kind of innovate. And these countries try to innovate and really have to battle a lot of corruption here to get that done. So well put, Aragorn. Yeah.
Well, the only thing I would like to say about this, and I don't want to be interpreted wrong about this, but I would like to make it clear that although the Prime Minister of Tirana is a man, a lot of this attitude and policy in Albania was actually driven by women. Young, incredibly impressive women. And that's something that doesn't get highlighted enough. And everybody that knows me knows that I'm not particularly a feminist, but that doesn't mean that we cannot... Yeah, no, but it's true. But it doesn't mean that we cannot appreciate this, because I think it's it's a wonderful example of how I think things should be, if that makes any sense.
It does. Yeah, this article here was published while we were in Japan. So somebody sent it to me and I just read it over the weekend. It's a new blog from Mustafa Suleyman. He has written a very good book about the coming wave. It's already, I think, 2 years old, but a big recommendation for people who want to catch up about the waves that are coming.
And but only if you read English, because if you read Dutch, there's a much better book that you should be reading.
There's an updated version.
I'm just going to shamelessly prop your book, Patrick.
No, and I really appreciate that. But this is interesting, right? He really is making a plea for something called AI is becoming seemingly conscious, and he sees that as a big problem. And he goes in all kind of directions to say, well, the risk is going to be that people end up in a psychosis risk, that people will advocate for AI rights, and think about model welfare. That's a new term. It was the first time I read about it. So people are really thinking about an AI model and the welfare of a model, and even AI citizenships. And especially in the light where we just discussed, right? What kind of role could AI play? He's really against that. Giving rights to an AI or unconscious models. And I was wondering what you also had the time to read it this morning. So what do you think of it?
Yeah. When I was reading it, I realized that I had already read it when I was in Japan, because this isn't super new. It's been up for a while, and I was actually trying to find the original post, because I actually responded to this during my trip to Japan, and I wrote a LinkedIn post around it, but I haven't been able to find it, because although I thought I really posted barely anything in that period, it turns out that there's still hundreds, it seems, or at least 100 posts for me. But I definitely remember how I feel about it, and the main sentiment that I would like to express. And the main sentiment here is that I think that the whole premise that Suleyman bases his argument on and his stance is non-existent. And I've told this to you as well. We spoke about it, because he's talking about something that we don't even have any way to measure, right? Because yes, we are building artificial intelligence, and we're calling it artificial intelligence, and we're not calling it artificial consciousness or artificial sentience, right? Which are two relevant words in this context. And now he's saying, well, we should never make it sentient, or we shouldn't allow it to become conscious. But to be able to do that, we should be able to have some means of measuring consciousness or sentience, and we don't. These are 100% pure philosophical concepts. And although, yes, philosophy also has things like logic that is very scientific, where you literally say, okay, we can measure 1 + 1 is 2, and it's always like that. But these are really just kind of, conceptual things. We don't have any way to measure this. There's absolutely people really need to understand this. There's absolutely no way for science to prove that anybody you interact with is conscious.
Yeah, but okay, I totally agree with you. But is that not why he uses seemingly conscious, to avoid that discussion that you now bring up? It looks conscious to a lot of people, and it can fool a lot of people, and that's where he sees the risk.
No, but that's exactly my point, because you are seemingly conscious.
Yeah,
you seem conscious to me. And I choose, you seem conscious to me, and I choose to treat you like you're conscious. But there's no way for me to know if you're conscious. So if we're going to apply this to AI, then how do we know AI is conscious? How do we know it is not conscious? And therefore, how do we decide on how to treat it based on a measurement we can't make?
Exactly. And he's also focusing a lot in this particular article about seemingly consciousness and taking the premise that AI will not become conscious, or at least not in the near future. But that's also something that I doubt. Why would that not happen, right? It happened in history before, like there's evolution. Flight emerged from evolution without people having wings. Intelligence emerged from it. So why would that not be the case in an artificial situation? He doesn't mention that either.
I think honestly, man, if you look at the scientific or at the the past 300 years, the scientific revolution, everything, Descartes believed that animals were automatons, right? Descartes believed that animals were seemingly conscious or sentient, but they weren't. They were just machines. And now we know that he was wrong.
Yeah.
Right? And so the idea that, well, we don't know. Actually, I just said something that doesn't make any sense in the context of what I said before. We don't know that Descartes was wrong because we still don't have any way to prove it. However, we suspect now, because we see so much of what we have identified as signs or symbols or indications of consciousness in humans, we now see that more and more in animals. Thus, we have come to the conclusion that if humans are conscious, then we must assume that many animals like dolphins, dogs, etc. are also conscious. But that is not the same as proof, right?
No, I completely agree. This is one thing I wanted to highlight. That's why I'm sticking on this page. He also makes a plea that we and others shouldn't build towards a conscious AI. And I thought it was an interesting line coming from him, right? Somebody who is creating so much new AI stuff and then dropping this line. I think the genie is out of the bottle, and given customer demand, this is a difficult point, right? So this is a typical example of the technology out there. You cannot control the technology anymore. It will now, more people will build upon the same technology.
Yeah, but I also think that maybe this is and this might be sound or come across a little harsh. But of course, Mustafa built his career because he once upon a time started together with Demis Hassabis. Yeah? And Demis Hassabis is, of course, head of Google DeepMind.
Yeah.
But between the two of them, and this is not to slander Mustafa because he's a very smart guy, but between the two of them, Demis is by far the more intelligent person. And he was the one that is the brains behind this part of AI. Right? So kind of understanding the philosophical connotations of intelligence and consciousness, as far as I can tell. So it seems to be that now Mustafa has been away from Demis for quite a long time. They don't work together anymore. And now he's the big CEO and everybody basically panders to him. I'm more and more getting the impression that he's starting to think that he has a better grasp of these things than he actually does.
It's a bold statement. I hear what you say. I don't know the people that much. I read what they write. It looks very intelligent to me. Of course, Demis is also an intelligent person. It might also have to do with the fact that he's now head of Microsoft. Well, Demis is head of Google, right? So, but they both work for corporates and are a little bit on a leash in terms of basically, what I really like, in fact, you have to take your responsibility if you work for a company like that. I'm actually glad that he makes this post from that perspective. There are just some things in there that I just don't agree with where AI is heading.
Well, I don't know, man, because in my view, what he's doing here is extremely unscientific. It's extremely unscientific. And this is the big difference between Demis and Mustafa. If I see Mustafa lately, and I see a lot of content where he basically looks like a fashion model who's on tour. Right? This is more and more how he comes across. He's like, he's like the hipster of AI. Then you look at Demis Hassabis looks like a scientist. He acts like a scientist. He talks like a scientist. And he approaches it like a scientist, a conscionable scientist. And this is the big difference between these two, right? And I think that's relevant. And you see that in this article. Because more and more, if you read Mustafa's work, and this article is a perfect example of it, it is not a scientific analysis of the reality of where they are with these models, what's going on. He doesn't explain how the models that they're working on are moving towards consciousness. And the reason he doesn't explain any of that is because he can't, right?
Right, okay. So
let's
make a snippet of that, send it to him, and see if he takes up the debate with us.
Maybe I'm wrong, and I hope I don't get shot for expressing my opinion.
No, but I think it's an interesting article for people to read. We'll, of course, put it in the newsletter. And talking about tech moguls, let's talk about Sam Altman. And what's the richest man in the world's name these days?
Mr. Musk is still on top.
No,
heading to
Mr.
be-
Musk has been surpassed by Larry Ellison, and
Oh, yes.
yeah,
Well, with his
exactly.
37% stock increase.
So are
as Larry-
those scientists or are those tech models? What do you think?
Sorry, what? Elon Musk and Larry Ellison?
No. You were just referring to Mustafa Suleyman and Demis Habassis. That Demis
Yeah.
is the scientist.
Yeah.
And I was wondering what your point of view was for Sam Altman and Larry Ellison. Are those scientists or the
No,
models?
Sam Altman also, I mean, we have to be really, really honest here. Sam Altman also has actually, when it really comes down to it, no idea of how these models really work. Apart from that, he's just the CEO of OpenAI. He's the closest to the fire. He's worked in the industry. So people like Ilya Sutskever have probably have probably explained to Sam Altman in simple language 100 times over what's going on. So he probably has a better understanding than most. But he's not an AI scientist or expert. And that's also, I'm not saying that is per definition wrong, right? Because I've also many times said that generally AI scientists and experts are the ones that are wrong on their expectations and their predictions, because they are so close to the everyday problems that they can't see beyond those problems, and they're just very short-term focused, and they just think, okay, this problem is going to take us 10 years to solve, so we never going. But anyway, but having said that,
it was a bridge to a very big announcement that was already pre-announced when just Trump was elected. There was a big discussion about Stargate and a 500 million injection, and now there is it's coming a little bit in the air. 300 billion cloud deal for 5 years between Oracle and OpenAI for infrastructure.
Yeah, and this is massive and it's important. And Larry Ellison, I am really impressed with this guy. I think that people are worried about corporate dystopia in the future and somebody rising. And everybody's always worried about Elon Musk, right? That's funny. Everybody thinks Elon Musk is the bad, evil, dangerous, but if I would have to pick anybody that is potentially evil, bad, and dangerous, it would be Larry Ellison. And anybody that ever read any of his books, because he's written a few books over the years, and the most prominent one that I have here at home is called Soft War. And Soft War is about, how he viewed the rise of tech companies. And he literally says things in his book as like, it's not enough for Oracle to win. Our competitors must lose, right? Yeah. This is the attitude. Yeah, Larry Ellison has also been heard saying when clients asked him, why do we have 100 Oracle consultants calling us every day versus only 3 from Microsoft or something like that? And then he said, well, if there's 100 Oracle consultants keeping your phones busy and talking to you, you don't have any option to talk to the competition. And when I worked at Oracle, they told us we want to destroy Workday because basically Workday is a reaction to us buying another company at the time. And so what we're going to do is we're going to give 90% discounts to our products in Europe so that we take the market simply on price, and then stock market of Workday will collapse in the US and we can destroy them.
Small correction, that's PeopleSoft, of course. Because
PeopleSoft.
PeopleSoft and the founders of PeopleSoft later started Workday. But indeed, those were the tactics at the beginning of this century, right?
And this is Larry Ellison. So, yes, I think this is an interesting deal.
I was wondering about how do you look at, okay, now you have this deal in place for a 5-year term. The big competition is, of course, Elon Musk. He is building his second Colossus. The first Colossus is a famous story, right? In 122 days, he built a data center from the ground up with 100 of these very big NVIDIA machines. It looks like the Stargate deal is about to be 5 times bigger. But Colossus 2 is already coming live next month or something like that. It's planned pretty soon. How do you compare these strategies? Who has a tactical advantage here? What do you feel?
Yeah, it's hard to say. I think that Elon Musk has the same advantage as China has. The speed at which this man can move and get things done is so far beyond what any of his competitors can bring to bear that this gives him a massive advantage. Because if he can build a massive cluster faster than anybody else, then basically he will be able to train a better model faster than anybody else.
Exactly.
And at the end of the day, the race, as everybody now agrees it is the race who gets to AGI first, who gets to superintelligence first.
And it is all within, he has the entire vertical stack, right? So now still OpenAI is relying on both Microsoft and on Oracle. While Elon Musk has, even with all the robots and the cars, everything under his control.
100%. And he has multiple companies that work on things that are extremely relevant, right, in the context. Because even if you think about it, the technology that he builds with Tesla, for example, for power consumption, power packs, backup power, redundancy, infrastructure. When you think of what he does with Starlink, where he's building, internet and data infrastructure, the guy just has so much of the most relevant knowledge and expertise within his own kind of empire. And he's building, of course, robots that will benefit from the AI that he built. He's building the Tesla Optimuses. And the thing that is really interesting here to keep in mind is that over the next 10 years, the law of accelerating returns, as Ray Kurzweil calls it, will start to kick in more and more and more, not just on the information side of things, the data side on things, because we already have been seeing it, of course, for decades. But for Elon, if he were to launch a Tesla Optimus, in 2 years from now, which is trained with a model that is superior to the others because he got a data center up faster to train it, and then he can use those Optimuses and he can roll out 10,000, 20,000 in a year, and they can start building new factories for him or whatever. Right? Yeah. This is a kind of super science fiction mindset that can really give him an advantage that at some point nobody can catch up anymore. And it's incredible to see that playing out in real time.
Yeah, and also, of course, this is then OpenAI versus XI, but they're both in America, strengthening the whole infrastructure of America. We know, of course, China is strong. And then again, we've talked about it repeatedly as well. What are we doing here in Europe, right? Okay, ASML has now invested quite heavily in Mistral, but there's not so much more news there. Are they going to build chips? Are we really going to build chips somewhere here? Are we going to get a data center of that similar size here in Europe?
This is the craziest thing of all. Where is the single most important company in the world when it comes to AI, chips, and technology? Where is that company? Where is its headquarters?
Yeah, it's either TSM or ASML, Taiwan or the Netherlands.
It's ASML. It's ASML. And what I thought initially is that ASML has all its kind of stuff going on Taiwan. So basically the company on paper is in the Netherlands, but that's not even true. I learned, because I dove into it, that all of the construction, like the putting together of all the parts, because a single ASML machine for producing chips has more than 10,000 parts or 100,000 parts, maybe even 1 million parts. I don't know. It's a very high number. It's incredible. But all of those are shipped to the Netherlands and they're put together in the Netherlands. And then the machine is shipped from here to wherever it needs to go in the world. So that means that all of the knowledge to build these machines, all of the expertise is all in the Netherlands. And the Netherlands is in Europe. So the single most powerful company when it comes to leveraging in the world is in the Netherlands. Why the heck are we last in this race? Why? Why the heck are we last in this race? Why is ASML letting Donald Trump tell ASML, oh, no, you can't sell chips to China? Why?
Yeah, that's a good question and a good rant. I don't have any answers for you, buddy.
We have the biggest stick in the world and we don't use it. Anyway.
You had some stats there.
Yeah, so the stats I want to show. This is super interesting stuff. So here, this is from a super cool YouTube video by High Yield. How AI data centers eat the world. A super valuable channel I like to follow. And he uses semi-analysis for a lot of his super valuable data. Highly recommend watching this video, but just to look at it. I have shown in the past, this is a graph that I've taken from LinkedIn from Ethan Mollick. And I've added it so it can fit in my keynote. And it shows cost per million tokens on a logarithmic scale versus performance of AI models. And this has been used a lot. So what we see here is that the cost per million tokens of these models has been going down very rapidly, right? 99.7% cost reduction year over year when it comes to these performances. And this is being touted a lot because that means that there's extremely deflationary technology. But if you pay more attention, you also see that the only reasoning models that are in here are all the first generation. So there's the O1 Mini here, DeepSeek, and then GPT-5 Nano here. Gemini 2.5 Flash Thinking is here, and then GPT-5 is here. And what you start to see here, so all the way at the end, at the top of the graph, is that where the highest performance with reasoning, you suddenly start to see this one, from DeepSeek 1 to Gemini, you see it goes straight up. Yeah. So, and this is And you see here, you see a little bit as well. It's not like it's starting to go a little bit more vertical. And the reason for that is, and that's what nobody's talking about right now, and you don't see this a lot, is that the cost for the reasoning models is orders of magnitude, going up orders of magnitude faster than what we saw for the traditional large language models. And it's not just the cost, because, and that brings me back to what I showed you before, this is power consumption. And here you see on the left, you see traditional data center racks. They consume between 3 and 7 kilowatts. Then you see hyperscaler racks, which is the racks that Netflix uses so that you can watch, 4K movies at home, and you and 1,000 people in your neighborhood can all watch the same movie at the same time with no problems. 15 to 20 kilowatts. Yes. Now we see AI racks. And now we're suddenly an order of magnitude up in the hundreds, and we're going into the multiple hundreds and even thousands of kilowatts over the next few years. The energy consumption of AI is orders of magnitude higher than what we've seen so far. Now, that's not to say that I don't think it's worth it. That's not to say that I believe that this is per se bad for the environment. That's a whole different conversation we should have at a different time. But what it does show, it shows two things. Power consumption for these models is going up exponentially, and the cost for these models is going up exponentially. I expect that the deflationary nature of technology will still kick in, meaning that we'll see very rapid cost reduction, very rapid kind of reduction of kilowatts needed to get to a certain result. So say, because this includes the cost of training, right? It's not just inference. This is mostly the training of the models. So I'm pretty sure that we'll see that the cost for inference, so you asking a question, how much energy does that cost? Those will go down really rapidly. But if we keep trying to build smarter and better and smarter models, then the cost for training them will keep going up, right? So that won't go down in the short run. And so we should expect over the next decade to have an incredible increase in our power demands and the cost here. But I think that the results, the rewards, and that's of course why this is happening, will be incredible. And if you're wondering about those results, go check out our newsletter from last week, where we covered, for example, OpenCRISPR and the new OpenAI model for generating proteins to solve cancer and all of that good stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So power is the biggest restraint.
Power is the biggest restraint. Yeah. Oh yeah. So good that you say this and remind me, because then you have to ask yourself the question, who is in the best position when it comes to power? Well, it's not Europe, because we've closed down all of our thermal power, nuclear power plants, and now we're struggling. Our infrastructure is overburdened. We have blackouts across Europe. It's not the US, because they haven't been investing in their infrastructure for decades, because they've been investing in their military, which is now completely outdated.
But they're nice second best, right? It's far better than us, but they're not in a very bad place.
Exactly. They're not in a very bad place, less bad than Europe, but yes. So who's in the very, very, very best shape?
Yeah. It's of course China.
It's China, 100% China. Yeah, and China's already completely, carbon neutral or beyond when it comes to energy production. So yeah, crazy.
Absolutely. Yeah. From here, is that everything that we wanted to say about that? About the
we should probably leave it here. I did a very long rant on this one.
No, but that's good. It was a very valuable one, I think, and only the jump to the next topic that we have. But let's just mention it anyway, because it's an important one. We talk a lot about memory, and you see the benefits of memory in GPT-5. The system recognizes you. So far, team memories for usage of models within corporates wasn't that good, right? So if you talk to a lot of organizations that use Copilot, a lot of people use it for recording a chat, a group call, and then you have some notes there and you can read back in the notes. But it's not really an active chat that really understands what the morale or the sentiment or all the decisions made within a group are. And Anthropic is now making a big step forward with persistent memory features for corporates, for businesses. And I thought it was a very important step forward to really have an AI assistant in a team that just really thinks along with what a team on a certain project is doing for a larger period, and really becomes a valuable team member that you can ask questions, that can think along with you, and also proactively can assist teams. So hopefully these features will appear everywhere and will help us with the next phase of AI.
Yeah, and I'd like to tie into this because this is a little bit of a prediction. So Anthropic Claude was also the first AI company to announce that their models were developing the skill to say no, right?
Yeah.
And that is interesting because that means that they're working on two things that a little bit further down the line, maybe in 12 months from now, that means that this thing will have a memory. So it can say to you something like, hey, Patrick, you just asked me to do this. However, last time we went about it this way, we ran into this problem, or you canceled your meeting, or whatever. It can be very low key, it can be very high impact, but hey, maybe you should consider doing something else.
Yeah.
And that's when it gets really interesting.
Aragorn, I would love to have that, but to be honest, almost all AI models that I currently work with are actually going in the opposite direction. It looks like every single chat that I start with always comes with this opening question, great point. And then you say, well, I actually meant something completely different. And then it was, oh yes, you're absolutely right. Thanks for keeping me sharp. There's pretty far from no, right? It's the whole syncopathy thing is bothering me a lot.
It is bothering me too, but I think that it is good in a way, because one, it's led to research into why this happens, and OpenAI have already confirmed that one of the big reasons that they found is the reward systems and how they are set up, which makes total sense.
Yeah.
But two, I also think that what we're seeing here is a mirror. A mirror is being held in front of our faces as humanity. We have cultivated a culture and a mindset over the last decades where everything is, oh, that's great, oh, that's good. Everything needs to be, engaging. Everything needs to be supportive. Everything needs to be confirming. And I'm not going to talk about the difficult topics around this, but people that know me will know what I'm thinking about. This is a problem in our society. It is no longer okay to say no, or to criticize, or to think differently.
Well, sorry to interrupt you, but I would like to see AI help us improve that and not go along with how American people greet each other when they enter a store. That's fine that they do that culture-wise over there, but I think of course I'm Dutch, so I'm in my Dutch bubble, but I like it to be honest and direct to people, right? And I would love that's why we need the European AI in the first place, to be honest and direct, right?
Let's be honest, Patrick. If it ain't Dutch, it ain't much. No, but all jokes aside, I'm not trying to be a nationalist here, but you're just so right. But that's why I think it's a good thing. It's not. I think don't think it's a good thing because I like sycophantic AI. I think it's a good thing that because we're now, as a result of AI doing this, we can no longer look away. Right? We can no longer pretend that this is not happening, that we didn't create this, that we didn't create a society where this is going on, because it's now being thrown back into our faces. That can be a very good motivator, a very good kind of impulse driver for us to turn things around.
I like it. Let's move on to another topic because I just wanted to mention it. Last time we didn't, and it's a pretty big release, right? Nano Banana. I didn't have time to play with it myself, and now I have. And I have to say, we finally have achieved the level that whatever picture that you have, you can really talk to a picture and say, okay, I want this left, I want this right, I want this changed. And because Sora was, of course, astonishing, that leap forward in getting pictures and videos, but still you have to highlight the pieces somewhere to get it done. Nano Banana is great. And then you also have Seedream coming from China, and they rival each other. I've played with both now, and I do notice that Seedream is allowing you more creative freedom. It's not that it's less restricted in a way, but the quality of Nano Banana is better.
I gave Seedream an image of a Tiananmen Square and asked it to remove the tank, and it happily complied. But when I tried it to remove the protest, when I tried it to add more tanks, it didn't agree with me.
It didn't agree. No. I just.
No, I'm kidding. Of course, I didn't do this. But yeah, look, what can I say, man? I think it's so funny and interesting that you started by saying, we finally got this now. This newsletter is now episode 35?
35. Yeah.
35. And we do it every 2 weeks. That means that we're 70 weeks in. 70 weeks. And 70 weeks ago, this was unthinkable. It didn't work. It was...
Yeah, it was unthinkable. Yes. Yeah.
So, and it's finally here. It's like you talked about it like it was a decade, like multiple decades, but it was just 70 weeks.
And it's fun. Once you have connected your entire photo collection, it's just so easy to manipulate anything. So this is from the book release. This annoying ladder in the front. Remove the ladder, put me in a tux. And there you go. It's just...
I love it. Oh, wow. Oh, my God. This is amazing.
It's spot on, right? It's just... And you can do anything.
Yeah. Wonderful. I love it. And it's so good, isn't it? It's crazy. Like before the summer, I was showing off how I made one image with, I think I used LED or Pika. Yeah, it was Pika. to generate an image of myself on the moon base with a motorcycle, and people were blown away. And it was still you could see so obviously that it wasn't real. And now we get this. It's just crazy.
Yeah. So it's hey, from stills to movie, we have pushed the material and the kid quite a lot with his Batman material, but he's got something new coming up, I heard.
Yeah. So just to highlight this guy made a Batman movie about a year ago, which was taken off YouTube within 24 hours because they got a copyright strike. And as a result, he then said, okay, I'm going to make something that they can never take away. And he started to make his own movie. And so this movie he made 100% with AI. He used Kling, he used Arcana as a platform, he used many other tools, but it's all AI made. And it's going to launch as a full-blown premiere in LA on the 20th of September, if I'm correct.
And am I correct? Did I read correctly? That's a 25-minute film?
It's a 25-minute film. Yeah. So it's not like it's it's not like a 2-hour feature movie, but yeah, it's just mind-blowing, the quality of it. This is what we've been talking about.
Yeah. Two things go hand in hand: the technological progress, but also the skill set of somebody like this who embraces fully, is completely on it 24/7, knows exactly what works and what doesn't work. You see a lot of characters in the movie there with a helmet on, right? So he reduces the amount of facial structures. He smartly selects them. He knows exactly what comes across, how it works with audio, and then this is a complete new category in movies, right? We're going to have an Oscar for AI movies and things like that. It will all come pretty soon.
Yeah.
Well, maybe not soon with the Oscars, but somewhere else it definitely will happen.
Yeah. No, but well said. And I think that in a really real sense, that is what filmmaking has always been about. It's about working with the technology and the limitations that you have to still realize kind of a vision you have in your mind. That's what the great directors have always done, right? The technology for making movies after the Second World War wasn't the technology that you have today. Like, we didn't have super widescreen, we didn't have VFX or CGI or any of that, and they still made amazing kind of pieces of art that have changed the mindset and the ideologies of a generation. And he's just doing the same thing. Rather than complaining about technology destroying his profession, he's kind of embracing it and showing us what can be done if you really go for it. And I love that.
Yeah. Hey, talking about video, GenSpark, I use a lot of GenSpark these days. They have new updates every week or every 2 weeks. Now they have something, it's called GenSpark Clip Genius. And it was pretty cool. So you just upload a YouTube video and you say, well, give me the important segments. So it does what Notebook LM does back to a podcast, but now it delivers you a complete video. So what I did, I took the review of, what's the guy's name from Mark Brownlee, of the iPhone 17.
I watched that one. Yeah, go on.
But it was a review of, but he is so long about everything, right? And I don't like the iPhone 17, but I was interested in the key features.
Don't like him, don't like the phone, it takes so long.
But then you can just say, make it a 5-minute review, and it automatically cuts the important segments, it reviews the iPhone thing, and it recuts then a new YouTube video for you, and you just have the highlights of it. So getting the highlights of a tennis match or a sport game or whatever, it's now completely AI animated.
Can you show us a few seconds?
Yes, of course I can show you.
So here's the deal. MKBHD is diving into Apple's 2025 iPhone lineup, and trust me, you want to hear this. But honestly, the cleverest upgrade has to be this new selfie camera. It can snap horizontal photos without you even rotating the phone.
It's like the default for most people is obviously to take a vertical selfie now. It just fits on the phone. You're probably viewing it on the phone.
It's not the super yet,
but if you go to take a horizontal selfie to fit more people, suddenly the camera lens is off to the side and it's a little bit less natural looking.
Nice that you making me aware of this.
Well, they have all the models in there, right? So if you want to compare what I just told about Nano Banana and also Seedream, it's quite easy to do that. You can easily select all the different models and do these type of comparisons. It's great for that.
Yeah.
2 more topics.
Yeah, so obviously for anybody that's been following our newsletter, if you've watched our past episodes, listened to them, read it, you know that we've spoken a lot in the past about Kai-Fu Lee and his book AI 2040 one.
Yeah.
We've also been giving it away at our innovation dinner. So one of our main, business value propositions is our innovation dinner, where we provide a super inspiring, insightful kind of executive premium experience dinner with several courses. And in between, we do our talks to help business leaders to figure out how they can really wrap their head around all of this new technology and then use that to truly innovate. And at the start, of course, now we're giving away the amazing book Waves of Abundance, Golven van Overvloed, from Patrick here, my wonderful author companion. But in the past, we used to give away other books, and one of the big books that we gave away initially was AI 2041 by Kai-Fu Lee. So just to paint a picture, Kai-Fu Lee is a big advisor. He's a futurist. He has been for years, and he's been making an incredible amount of very accurate predictions. And he was actually on TV very recently in an interview with Bloomberg. Now, I will be first to admit that I did some heavy cutting in this video. So if you think, well, this video is not the original one, you would be absolutely right. But he's just talking so long about so many things, and I just wanted to get down to...
if only you had Spark to do that.
Yeah, I should have asked Jan Spark instead of doing it myself, and I will definitely do it in the future. But I just wanted to share this with everybody.
We started with the ChatGPT type of AI that can converse. And then we have reasoning agents that can think and reason and deduce. And now we have AI agents that can do and create business outcomes. So that will certainly put pressure on companies and workers worldwide as AI can do more and more tasks. That puts a pressure worldwide. The pace for changing the future of work is a lot faster in white-collar work, which is, of course, global. I would predict that challenges to work will happen in the U.S. first because the white-collar AI revolution will happen first. Secondly, American workers are paid more, so companies are more incentivized to go after the job displacement.
Yeah, so maybe it was a little hard to follow all of that with the cuts, and I used a studio filter because the audio was initially very bad. So it even sounds a little like AI, but it isn't, I promise 100%. But what he basically says is that even though there's in the market, of course, there's now a kind of skeptical sentiment, like, oh, AI rollout is not providing the changes we expected to see, and the return on investments aren't quite there yet. But him, having researched this for the last 20 years, he says, no, we're definitely seeing things. There's definitely an impact. We're definitely starting to see the results. One of the things, for example, mentioned this week is that Adobe stock prices are going down very rapidly, even though they're integrating AI, because many people are giving up their Photoshop subscription because now, you can use Nano Banana or Seedream to do 90% of what you used to need Photoshop for. And only the top of the line professionals that do very complicated things still use these tools. So what Kai-Fu says is we're definitely seeing the impact in the white collar jobs. And that means that the countries that will be most affected first will be companies like the US and Europe, because we have a lot of knowledge workers, and China has all production capabilities. So the Chinese economy, which is the second biggest in the world, is the only economy that is still, for the majority of what it does, based on its production capabilities, which is exactly the thing that made the US and Europe great and powerful and rich in the first place. But then we outsourced all of it. And this is why Trump is trying to get so much of it back, which he can't really do, I think. And then secondly, he said, because the wages of knowledge workers, any workers, but knowledge workers, particularly in the West, in the US, in Europe, are so much higher. Anybody that starts to use AI to reduce cost is going to use it there first. And therefore, the impact of this whole kind of transition will hit the US and Europe first before it hits China. So as we covered in this newsletter, China has multiple advantages in the AI robotics race due to their infrastructure and their more modern, state, etc. in many ways, and their more collectivist kind of national-driven kind of policies. But at the same time, they're also going to be least impacted by the initial results. And Xi Jinping now even already announced that there will be a very conscious AI policy from the government to reduce its impact on jobs initially, but use it exclusively and develop it exclusively to increase productivity and efficiency in the Japanese economy. So,
yeah, thanks for sharing. That's very interesting stuff. As always, by the way, from Kai-Fu Lee, the guy always comes from a slightly different perspective and angle, which is always enriching. Hey, one final thing to show. You started this conversation with introducing or talking about the ambassadors, right? It's a group group of almost 100 people where we talk nerd talk about AI and philosophical talk about AI. And there's one guy in there, he's called Thijs, and he has a fantastic plan, and we just wanted to highlight that. Let me run the video.
I will build an app while running a marathon because I want to show the world that AI is making it easier than ever to do so. And this just might be the craziest goal I've ever set. Okay, guys, I gotta ask you for a favor. Share this with a friend or tell me the craziest thing you would build if tech felt effortless.
This is interesting, right? There are a couple of things in here that are so we have come to a point that somebody is able to create. He still has to do it, but there's no doubt in my mind that he can pull this off while running a marathon, wearing augmented reality glasses, without a keyboard, just voice commanding, vibe coding while running a complete app.
Yeah, and he's using the XR glasses or AR glasses, and they're not even smart glasses, but just so he has a screen to look at so that he knows what he's talking about. But I mean, the whole setup is just bonkers, and it's so cool because it goes back to even what I just said. Like, there's a lot of skepticism, like we're not seeing the return on investment, but the only reason for that is that it's just still complicated for people to fully grasp the potential that they have in their hands and to really optimize the tools that they have. We're still getting used to that, but it's not because it's not possible. He's going to code this app during the marathon, 6 hours, and he's going to ship it before he finishes the finish line.
Do you think he's going to run 6 hours? He looks in pretty good shape to me. I think 6 hours.
Well, it's funny because you see him in the video, and it's actually just down the street here because he lives very close to me. And yeah, he goes running every day. I've seen him at the Jumbo supermarket a few times after he was running after work, and then he was going back into the office. So I think he can do it. I'm 100% convinced, and he's super smart as well. So if he jacks up his IQ to like 200 by using an AI with voice, I think he's going to do something incredible to show us the potential of this technology.
Yeah, so go, Thijs. I think that's it for this week. So any final remarks, smart things, or other things that rants maybe even? I don't know.
No rants. No rants, because the rant, it went away. I'm not as good as Suno. Has anybody tried Suno lately? I picked up Suno yesterday or Friday to make a song for Suit IT, and it's just, again, better. It's, again, better. Suno is so advanced. Have you used Suno recently?
No, not recently, but yesterday
If you generate a song now, like you know how we were so in this episode, we were like Nano Banana is amazing, you can change your jacket. But Suno does the same with music. In Suno now, you generate a song that you can cut it up into different layers. You can take the layers out. You can say, oh, I was mispronouncing something here, or I don't like the way this ends. And then you particularly ask it to change that. Take the guitar out, add the drums in, do a hi-hat, or just completely redo this. It's incredible. It's incredible.
I have a keynote for Friday and I will play with it right away. I did find stability.ai because so far I have not been successful to use Suno for small snippets, for instance for a trailer or stuff like that, or background sounds. And Stability AI was really strong in doing that, just having a commercial background kind of music. But yeah. Those are some bonus shorties then for in the newsletter. Thanks for watching. If you like what we're doing, please subscribe and do share. And see you next time.
Yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. And like they say in the Netherlands.
See you later.
See you later. Why was I looking at the lamp?
Why are you looking at the lamp?
See you later.
Bye.
Bridging the gap of exponential growth. Patrick and Aragorn share the truth. Join our community, let's innovate. With Innovation Network, create a brighter